What you'll find is that a squadron of two from London, named Gabe and Shirk, have just squashed themselves with the responsibility of having dropped the most gleefully creative dance pop album of the year. You'll find a taste of everything, a sharing platter of dance pop charcuterie, little tasty morsels of Chicago house in the club boom and Sir Duke type funky soul, and bouncy Aaliyah era R&B, and even this feisty new genre handle, Hyperpop. Comanavago suppose fluidity and identity. The description of their first EP says that Comanavago refused misgendering because all they exist to do is to make the girls move in the club. Even if there were boys in the club, they're now girls. Each of these phenomenal songs encourages you to embrace that fluidity, to become someone new for a second, to Comanavago. If you're not a dancer, well fuck, you will be now. If Annihilation doesn't make you jump, then Playboy will, or if that doesn't, then The Storm might, and if that doesn't, then Mess will. But the likelihood is that everything will hit the spot. But if not, I'd like to think that there's a little sliver of the pie for everyone. Writing a catchy song is hard, and they nail it every single time. The album might be called Heart Failure, but my body's never felt more alive.
It's a roller coaster, getting off this roller coaster.
In which I agree that Machine Gun Kelly may be the walking punchline of mainstream hip-hop, but I honestly can't hand on heart say that he has the least dignified career path of any rapper, not when Vic Mensa is around. 2020 is the year when an MGK album doesn't automatically wind up in the top 10 most worthless listening experiences of the year, but in fairness, A.G. Cook's done him a favour about 8 bloody times. What gives MGK an XLW is that whether or not he intends to return to hip-hop, he has done us a solid by not doing it in the meantime, giving us a little bit of time to breathe, opting instead for a loud-mouthed 2000s skater pop-punk revival, as well as a bit of a cheeky acting career with credits in Bird Box, that Motley Crue biopic that nobody asked for, and that Pete Davidson Feel Sorry For Me drama that was 45 minutes too fucking long. Tickets to My Downfall is MGK's homage to the kind of music that might pop up in ARTV's Discover Weekly playlist, a gaudy but absolutely sincere take on angsty teen radio rock, and boy, is it a blast. Not all of it sticks, in fact I'm sort of glad that a lot of it doesn't, but Bloody Valentine is genuinely one of the most gleeful songs of the year. I gotta say, Mr. Baker brought home the bread. What stops most of the album from going even more nuts is the fact that while I believe MGK's pop-punk passion is sincere, it's also still a pastiche. It always comes across as this really simple imitation of a mainstream style that's now gone. And it is gone, a fact that is stamped into history no matter how many smacks and crashes on Travis Barker's drums you try to use as a cheat code to bring it back. It doesn't help that a lot of the writing is pretty facile, and at the worst of times, a little bit distastefully on the nose about razor blades and jumping off the ledge. I can smell Youngblood's mascara stains on the lyric sheet. I didn't mind this though. I have to admit that I've enjoyed MGK's forays into this angsty style, even though a lot of it has the real emotive impact of a stale iced bun. You're really just here for the sugar rush, so just scrape that off, take that and run with it until you're out of breath and you realize you have a Black Bear song in your recently played. In a pressing time when everything counts as hyperpop if you use approximately one synth melody, it's good to hear something that isn't just hyper and pop in separate terms, but more interestingly has the euphoria of pop music accented by its love for hyperbole. Pop music's current love for heavy bass lines, trendiness, drama is mutated on this dense Cat in the Hat type fantasy void mixtape by that kid. So hectic it doesn't even stop at a Jersey Club inspired cover of Soulja Boy Tellum's Kiss Me Through the Phone. Said cover seems the most appropriate way to let the aesthetic come full circle. A song from the 2000s that was a timely pop anthem for its generation of online flirting, LimeWire and Ryan Heger. The saturation of the internet world hasn't changed since then, only amplified. So Kiss Me Through the Phone gets times 10 on this album, more accurately representing the overwhelming state of the web world, now rampant with e-fantasies, Twitter stan accounts, layers of irony, and Dorian Electra. One of those e-fantasies is referable on track number 5, a song about wanting to fuck a guy named Chad in the Taco Bell. Are you ready to hear Chino Moreno squeeze the air out of his lungs with a rolling pin once again? Because Deftones, finally back, bro. A band that breathes alternative metal. Literally breathes it. I'm really fond of their 90s new metal stuff. Yes, I know. It is some of their best shit, but they also got more best shit. And it sort of lies on the other side of Y2K. What Deftones began doing was weirdly transcendental and in touch with the cyber age, marrying the animalistic action of new metal and 90s rock to the cloudiness of shoegaze and the spaciness of space rock in a comfy polygamic relationship. The issue that I do have with OHMS is that it's the most indescript album to date, which I suppose in its own way is quite descript anyways. What it at least means is that they have their shit down to a science, with a bit of everything from the Defties' best moments. The Link is Dead is screechy aggression at the scorching temperature of an oven wedge, but compare that to the way that Urantia begins as if it's going to rocket skate off into the graveyard of classic thrash metal, then ends up levitating off into the misty skies. My favourite Deftones moments are when they master that sense of building high suspense, like a deep breath and then flushing it all out with a beautiful legato melody on the chorus. So this album is a bit flawed by design, being a pretty solid condensed version of all that we knew they could already do well on Whitey Pone Pone or Saturday Night Wrist. They even admit they're surrounded by debris of the past. I know it's called OHMS, but I'd like a bit more current, if you know what I mean, brooder.
Let you rise up in me. Let you rise up in
Kelly Lee Owens begins in a song with an oceanic recreation of the lead arpeggio from Radiohead's Weird Fishes. So absorbing was it that I found myself doing the little Tom York wails under my breath. Chloe's self-titled album is such a robust flex of what she's capable of, but In a Song is enticing for a subtly new reason. For one, it's a little bit more maximalist, but it's also so much tenderer than the self-titled, just almost falling off the bone. The point is, it makes In a Song fittingly more personable and humanized, as if what was once an icy grey space is slowly repossessing its colour. The instrumentals yawn open and they offer more space for her voice to soar around the track. And just for a tad bit more vitamin A+, Kelly throws into the tech house smoothie a little bit of Kale. Yes, that's right, on Corner of My Sky, John Cale guest stars to spit bars in both English and Welsh. The track he's on is a wind punctuated by a bass line that snaps down on the 7th beat and reboots back up on the 8th, and the noise all erodes away when Cale delivers his spoken word, and then surges even louder to swallow up his presence again once he begins singing.
The rain, the rain, the rain, thank God the rain.
This track is a show of the itsy bitsy little deets that matter in the music of Chloe's. Might sound like there's little in the songs, but there's still plenty to care about. Lots! This result is borderline spiritual, there's lots of space in the music, and light will shine through the cracks. A bit like the actual image of 10 billion angels storming into town, this album is the gift that keeps on giving. It's an angular sculpture with edges jutting out in wacky directions, carved from glossy, sparkling synth timbres, and decorated with backmasked sounds and pelted with elastic vocal droplets, like they're a flurry of ping-pong balls bouncing off a crystalline surface. It's a firecracker bag of surprises, like bath bombs into an Icelandic geyser. You ever think about how hard it must be to make music like this? Shit is obviously so carefully and perfectionately designed, but it all lands so lackadaisically, so casual, as if this universe of Zora Jones already really existed somewhere else in the galaxy. All she really had to do was take us there, improvise some tracks in about an hour, and freestyle over it like a Chupa Chups episode of The Cave.